dialing into your strengths. That's what I'm talking about today. Even improve our strengths and become stronger with our strengths, because that's where our superpower lies. So yeah, I'm gonna make you feel uncomfortable.
The leaning into strengthening, being more conscious of being appreciative of what those things are and make sure I'm utilising them.
All of those are pretty much true.
Especially the not too shabby to look at on camera one. Yeah, that's the bit that I'm almost through, I think. Inspiration Nation, hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast, as always with my very good friends Jose Noya, Ryan Boniface. I'm going to mix it up next week. I've been saying this for a long time. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah, good. Just wanted to shout already, I've got one of my number one contributors to the live, Alfie. Alfie is already online. Tap into live. So we've really been going recently live, and Alfie is one of our Inspiration Nation door bouncers for any negativity. So there you go, already joined. Thank you, Alfie.
Welcome to the podcast, Alfie. Thank you as well, everyone watching us on YouTube, downloading wherever you listen to podcasts, and of course check us out on Twitter at ListenToIN, ListenToIN, and Joe is everywhere. Just look for Jose Noya, Inspiration Nation. If there is a social platform, he is on it. So, I believe, Joe, that we are back to you on the imaginary wheel of conversation. After me doing the wheel of conversation went down so well before, I'm going to continue this going, and we'll go.
Oh, I love it.
Remember, like the old, was it Wheel of Fortune, where you'd spin it round and it'd get really slow at the end?
I remember that.
And it'd always miss like the big prize. Anyway, I'm rambling. What are we talking about this week, Joe?
Just as I say, to a good quick shout out to Alfie to say, Alfie, you're now live on the podcast. You're going to go listen to this. So you're now definitely on the podcast. And so if you go listen down live, you'll be on there, Alfie. So there you go, you are in. So the topic today is, I'm going to call it Graft Your Craft. It's called Graft Your Craft. And the reason is I'm doing that. Thanks, Alfie, for saying you're going to get Keelan. Yeah, get Keelan in, get Jack in. Let's get them in. Let's get listening to this. It'll be great. Get them in here. Oh, by the way, I haven't introduced Lee and Ryan yet. So Alfie, meet Lee, Ryan. Actually, hang on a minute. I know I'm going a bit off tangent here, but I think it's important.
This is great.
Joe moving his phone round. This is the most technical
for our audio listeners, isn't it?
Oh yeah. But yeah, for those listening, Joe is now showing us on. It's weird. I can see myself on my phone on TikTok.
Let's do a Lee. That's for Lee and Ryan.
Hello.
There you go.
So, okay. Grafting, Joe. Grafting. What are we saying about?
Yeah, grafting the craft.
Hold on, he can't multitask. He can't put his phone back and talk at the same time.
Yeah, put it in there, right. Yeah, so what I mean is about dialing into your strengths. That's what I'm talking about today. And the thing is that brought this up is because today I've been delivering trainer delivery, and I always ask people, what's gone well? And automatically the amygdala, the sort of amygdala goes to negativity, and they talk a little bit about what's gone well, and then they're dialing, oh, I didn't do that so well. I didn't do that so well. So what I want us today to do is talk about actually what we do well and celebrate our strengths. So I suppose as it's my week, I should probably go first. So what do I do well? And I find this, sometimes I find it's a struggle, but I think my strengths are, doing training, communicating a message, and getting people on board and communicating. That's really my strength. And getting people involved in coaching is my strength. And so for me, it's about practicing that. And as Keelan on there on the TikTok will attest to, and Jack and Alfie, I will be on there, communicating, do my best to bring people in, have positivity, and that's my strength. And think so. The more I practice this, I think practicing your strengths is a really, really good, powerful thing. So recognizing what's gone well, can you sort of sit back and go, what's gone well? And of course, there's always things we can improve. But I think we spend a lot of time, maybe focusing on weaknesses. And actually, we'll never be great at weaknesses. Maybe we need. I think we talked about in the Mark Drager interview previous week that maybe he was going to get someone to absolutely get in and do someone to do his weaknesses for him, or maybe he's not so great at those things. So that's what I want to talk about this week. And so this week, guys, I want you to talk about what are your strengths. And TikTok, I want you to tell me what your strengths are. That's what I want you to do. I want you to do that. Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to send it over to you. And just remember, we have no negativity in the TikTok chat. And I've got my guardians there, so we're going to do that. So off you go. What do you think? What are your thoughts, guys?
This is the awkward position of having to talk about ourselves in the positive, which is never very good.
Yeah. I like this because
that's why you're going first.
Oh yeah, I got that.
We always do this to try and make you feel awkward, a bit uncomfortable. But yeah, because we all have this problem about dialing into our strengths, what we do well, how we can continue to, really, really even improve our strengths and become stronger with our strengths, because that's where our superpower lies. So yeah, I'm gonna make you feel uncomfortable.
So a few things in no particular order off the top of my head. Obviously, you both know me well enough to jump in and say, Lee, what are you talking about? And I would welcome that as well. But I think and I'll go back, I'll give a practical example. So years ago, when I was working, like in my first senior role, I'd say, in work, and was working with someone at the time who was my boss, was really good. And the thing she'd always come back to is that, like, we'd be strategizing what was going to be happening in the next 6 months or 12 months, or not, there was a problem that needs to be solved, and a group of people come out with a solution and whatever it is. And I have a very vivid memory of the end of one of these sessions, been writing on a whiteboard, lots of stuff everywhere, and then was my boss then kind of put the lid back on the pen, gave it to me and said, right, Lee, now do your thing. And then what she meant by my thing was taking the vision and bringing it to reality. And Joe, I can see you're nodding, because we one-on-one have had one of these sessions before where you had a very big idea and we wrote it down and we broke it into chunks and we came up with that plan to implement it. So I do, in terms of practical delivery, I think one of the things I'm very good at is taking concepts and bringing them to life and, filling in the practicalities, seeing that bigger picture and how things fit in, understanding who needs to be involved, not involved, except, all that sort of stuff. So I'm very good at that kind of implementation stuff. I would say on the converse of that, because I do all those things, something that I can escalate through or skip over sometimes is the detail. And I have to be very conscious to take a step back and kind of go that level down and look into that things in much more detail. I'm far more a 80% person than a 20% person for people who kind of get that analogy. So I'd say there's a strength in implementing there. I'd say I'm good at reading people, engaging people and what things to be doing. Lots of people over the years have given me credit for my presentation skills. I did, Joe, I went back and watched a video you helped me put together, which is one of our first ones, which compared to what I do now is very, very sterile and cringy. But I think, I often get a lot of compliments on being able to present and stuff like that. So they're where some of my strengths lie, I would say.
Yeah.
And I'm not too shabby to look at on the camera either.
I like it. Yeah. I would agree with that, because we did have a project going together, and you did bring it to life. I think you've got a good way of, breaking the big vision down into smaller steps, and just like, what's the first step we can take?
Yeah. And I suppose how that sits in my head, thank you, Joe, for endorsing on that one, is I'm very good at not getting overwhelmed by the big picture and breaking it into those chunks and stepping through it bit by bit.
Yeah, I mean, we can take, the podcast, for instance. You said, oh, Joe, you should be doing Jose should be doing a podcast. What's the first things? And you went out, right, first steps, I'm going to find out, going to see what I can do. And you reached out to Ryan and things like that. So I thought, yeah, I definitely agree with that. And thank you, Alfie, for that massive likes on. Alfie's just keep pressing that button. His finger's going to ache. He does this sort of, keep pressing that button for likes. It's amazing.
That's what we like to see.
I love it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Really do. Thank you. It's really good, Alfie. Thank you. Soon get Keelan and to join. That'd be great. Okay. Yeah. So I totally agree with you. I don't disagree. Ryan, what are your thoughts on actually what Lee said as his strengths? Because I know you work with Lee, don't you? So what would you say?
All of those are pretty much true.
Especially the not too shabby to look at on camera one. Yeah, that's the best.
That's the bit that I'm almost true, I think. Where I was going with that. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I am one of the people that have credited Lee for his presentation skills and have tried to adopt them into my own way. I don't present much these days, but Doesn't mean that I never will, but it's good to have those skills kind of in the bank, I guess. Yeah, Lee, in a more of a layman's way, he is a doer. I think that's what he meant by the 80-20% thing, because I've got no idea what he's talking about. But I'm pretty sure it's the 80% is a doer and the 20% is the thinker. That's what I'm gonna assume. But that doesn't mean that to say that he doesn't think of things, because he
I'll
thinks of
correct you on
things.
that later because it's not the thinking.
Oh, okay. He thinks he knows what you'd be a good chess player. You know what people are gonna do.
I am quite a good chess player, actually.
You know what people are gonna do 3 steps ahead of where they already think they are. Like, we'll have a conversation and I'll say one thing and you'll go, yeah, and then what comes next? Then I'll go, whatever that is, and you'll go, well, then what comes next after that? And I'll go, yeah, and then it will generally always play out in that kind of fashion. I thought I was a good judge of character and a good judge of person, but you're next level.
Thanks, Krista. 80-20, by the way, just to clarify. And I do think, thank you for it, you know, I'd like to think I probably am in that doer thing. And I don't think I always was. I think that's something I've developed over the years. But it's more that when I build something, I'm very focused on something that fits the 80% of scenarios, knowing that 20% won't fit within it. But I won't, for my view, I don't get drawn into procrastination because of the 20%. I push on for the 80%. But the risk is coming back and revisiting that 20.
Love that.
So what about you, Griffey?
We've not talked enough about Lee. We need another about
deflect. As much as I truly love
minutes.
any conversation about Lee, and we could go on for hours, I really think your deflection should stop here.
We need another 20 minutes.
Well, I could see he's on TikTok. He just saw Ryan do this.
Oh no, I always do that. But
that is biting nails for the 90% of people that are on audio right now.
I always forget them. My strength. I'm very self-aware, funny. Feels like I'm writing a Tinder bio.
Well,
like pina coladas and walks in the rain.
Yeah, no. I'd like to think I'm quite emotionally intelligent. I'm quite empathetic. I can understand things quite well from different perspectives. I'd like to think that I can remove myself from situations quite well if I need to take an objective view. None of this stuff's really founded, so I'm just going on what I think I can do. I'd like to say, in some aspects, my lack of over-the-top confidence is a strength, because I was overconfident for a long time, which we've spoken about, and that wasn't that much of a strength. So I kind of falls back into that self-awareness bracket. I'd like to think I'm a good leader, and that's kind of evidenced in kind of the job I do. I'd like to think that I'm a strong ambassador for the job that I do and for the people that I work for. I'm loyal. Yeah, these are all just basic characteristics. These aren't some fancy project middle management stuff that Lee was throwing out, but it's
I think mine were quite grounded as well. They were good. I'll throw in, Ryan, that you are, and it's not even more than happy. I think it's your natural inclination to roll your sleeves up when something needs to get done. And so much so, I don't think you even think about it, but it's not something that you do see in everybody. In fact, quite often you see people who almost consciously steer away from that, whereas I think you unconsciously run into that, which I think is a very good thing.
Yeah, it depends who asks. I think it comes back to the loyalty thing. If I don't respect you and you tell me to do something, I'll half potential.
Is that why you've always told me no?
They're different questions that you ask that I say no to.
Zing.
I wonder what you say no to. Anyway, that's a side.
Don't ask.
I'm not going to ask.
No, but again, it depends on who asks. So I'll generally do anything for anyone, but I'll do anything well for only certain people. I think there's a very big difference, and that doesn't mean to say that I'll do a terrible job of anything that somebody asks me. But if I am respectful of you and, you know, we have a good relationship, then I would do my best to go above and beyond in what you ask me. Whereas I would just, for somebody that just generally asks, I would do what would be like a C grade type job. I would get it done. Could be better. I've hit exactly what you needed to do. Could be a lot worse. Could be better, but I get the job done. But if
Sounds
I gave
like my school report card,
if you gave 110% to everybody, then you'd eventually give 0% to someone. So you have to kind of balance those things out, I think.
how is that, Joe, for you on our round of strengths?
I think it was good because I could sense the awkwardness in the room when I said, well, let's talk about our strengths, because it's the usual thing that people struggle with that. And it's a lot of the things, you know, and it's really important just to be able to do that. And it's great that you've been able to voice it and ratify each other, actually. So, you know, this is what I'd suggest, you know, people do. What are you good at? You know, go out there. I mean, the way I ratify mine is that when I get feedback from my training, which is good. This obviously thumbs that isn't great, so good. I need to look at that and improve that. But most of the time, you know, it comes out back in the feedback that I receive, and so, you know, that's what we really want. You know, so, you know, for me, you know, that's what it's about. And thanks to Alfie and Keelan and Jack who've joined, and I know they're not responding. That's fine. But yeah, it's great. You know, that's how I get mine. So, you know, and, you know, how I collect it and do that is I just collect all the feedback, and at the end of the year, I look at what the scores are, and then I will, you know, I'll look at that. EJ, welcome. So EJ is a doctor. Hello, mate. You're right. This is for you on the audio as well. We go on TikTok, and so EJ's joined as well. It's fantastic. We got the gang together, so fantastic. We really appreciate it. Fantastic. I love that. So continue with that. Thank you so much, Alfie. Thanks, EJ, for joining. Really appreciate it. But yeah, so that's where I sit, and I think for you guys to be honest about where you sit, you know, if your strengths, I think is important, and that you can ratify each other, I think is a really important thing, and what's gone well. So how do you guys, so my other question is, how do you continue to develop that? What things do you do to continue to develop those strengths? Is there anything that you do?
One thing I'll say, actually, and it's not quite an answer to what you're asking for, but I was thinking about it as we were talking there, and I want to come back to, is it feels good. It's quite empowering to acknowledge that. Like you said, it's easy to lean into, I need to get better at this. I'm not very good. I need help with this. And again, it's no problem. I think you should embrace the things you need help with, a bit like Mark was saying in the interview the other week. But actually, it's really good to talk about those strengths. And I like to think I lean into them, but I'm thinking this is almost a trigger to do that a bit more, to, you know, help build my own confidence about leaning into those things, utilising them more, finding opportunities where I can use those things. Maybe even seeking a bit of feedback from people and things they see as well. So I'm going to try and push for the internet. There's something I watch, and it's a drama show on TV, but they use as a reference quite often the Superman pose thing, you know, which I know we've talked about. In fact, there's a show back in the archive, guys. I think it is called Superman Pose, where we talk about this.
Yeah.
I mean, they do it quite often, but it's that, you know, standing in that pose gets your, you know, right chemicals running, gets the confidence going. And it feels like this is another version of that sort of thing. So I'm just going to try and to kind of lean into it a little bit more and see how that goes, and encourage it in other people as well.
I think the thing you think about the feedback's quite good as well. I mean, that's really healthy as well. If you can actually ask people, look, I want you to be honest about it. And we did an episode, didn't we? Where do I suck? Where am I no good? And actually setting up as things to say, you know, where am I no good? So from, you know, they'll say, well, you did this well, you did that well, I'll acknowledge that. And then from that, you'll acknowledge your strengths anyway. So you can even do it from a place where they're looking at, oh, well, this isn't done so well, but actually you did that. You usually find when you do that, when you set up the environment to say, where am I no good, I say, well, you actually did this really well. And I think that's a real good thing. So the people that keep saying to you, hey, Lee, you know, you got this big vision, you better break it down. And they say that to you. And with Ryan as well, you know, when you connect with people and you're able to sort of, you know, connect and do the strengths that you want, if people are saying that to you, you know that that's naturally a strength that you've got. So it's just important to be aware and be tuned in to say, hey, okay, people keep saying this to me, this must be a strength. When we maybe not look at it, maybe we look at it, I'm not that great in that area, but actually it might be something you're not discovering, not listening to. And it is a strength that you necessarily don't unless we don't dial into. So yeah, I think there's a lot of value in that, and I think healthy feedback is always a good thing. And every time I do any training or coaching, I always send a bit of feedback. So maybe, on the TikTok, let's have a bit of feedback from Keelan, Alfie, Ryan, and EJ, and all those guys. And let's have a little bit of feedback and see where we go. Because it's really important, right? I think it's really important. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. But I definitely think we need to listen more and be more open to it, and actually work on those things to improve them and to continue to strive to strengthen them in every way. So for me, it's training and coaching. I do that every day. I'm doing it every day at work. So I'm continually, I'll go live on TikTok. I'll try out how to engage people. Is it engaging? People engaging, and got the guys there engaged. So thank you, TikTok. Really appreciate it. And the guys that are there, and I'm going to continue to see how it goes. Trying this stuff out and seeing how it goes, it's really, really important. So yeah. Has anything come out of that for you guys?
Yeah, I think kind of going back to what Lee said about working on his weaknesses as well as his strengths as well. I think that's quite an important side. But I'd like to think of it slightly differently, in the sense that I don't focus on working on my strengths because they're things I just use every day. I think that's the same for a lot of people, especially if it's something that is inside your day job. Like I said, I feel like I'm quite a good kind of people leader or and motivator, or however you want to describe it. And I think I don't have to tap into projects or processes to be able to get to that. That's just what you naturally do, and what you're naturally consistently doing is probably what some of your strongest skills are. So for me, that's how I see that. But it's always good to take stock, and we say it all the time about looking back down the mountain of what you have done and what you are good at. This should be no exception.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that's a good view. Before we round those takeaways, Joe, because it feels like you're summing up to those points, I've got to give the important shout out. Wherefore, InspirationNation.org.uk. That's where everything through the podcast, details of coaching service, sign up to Joe's newsletter, all the archives, links to YouTube, all that good stuff. Of course, the Inspiration Nation merch store. I'm looking here. I've got my mug somewhere. It's right here, in fact.
I've actually got it
mug.
this week.
I'm wearing. Oh, Joe's got his. Ryan.
I've lost it. I moved my room around. I'm not sure where it's gone. We need to dig it out.
I'll send you enough one in the post.
No, I'll probably find it.
Okay.
And I'll have double mug shots.
Hoodies. I've got my Jose Noya-Inspiration hoodie on here as well. T-shirts, the lot, all over there. Fantastic stuff. Help support the podcast. I say codcast, but it's definitely a podcast. Massive appreciation. I don't know if you want to swerve it, Joe, but there was a call out for merch on TikTok as well. I don't think we've got them in stock at the moment. But
they're out of stock at the moment. Get them in soon. I think the TikTokers know what we're talking about.
Indeed. If you want to know, get over there. So follow Joe on TikTok. He is @Noya_InspirationNation. We will be signposting each and every week. Sometimes record on a Tuesday, sometimes a Wednesday, sometimes it's 5:30, sometimes it's 6. We're pretty much on schedule, but keep an eye on TikTok. Joe will let you know when we're there. Join in live before the show drops Thursday, Friday at the back end of the week. And of course, everyone who is listening, hit that subscribe button. You will know as soon as a new video comes out on YouTube or the podcast hits your podcast player. Leave us a review, tell friends and family. And lastly, follow us over on Twitter @ListenToIN, listen TOIN. A lot of new followers on there every week. We massively appreciate it.
Great, I love that. Yeah.
To start off the takeaway rules, Joe, I will say, and it's what I reflected back to you, but I hadn't thought about it. But my big takeaway is the leaning into strengths thing, being more conscious of being appreciative of what those things are and make sure I'm utilising them.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. Again, I think it's that whole, it's like that self-love stuff. I know someone's find a bit uncomfortable with that, but it is about appreciating where you are, because a lot of time we dive into negativity and we will just dive into putting ourselves down. And we need to dive into a little bit of that. We still have a balance, but it's, we need to be more on that positive side, definitely. Yeah. What about you, Ryan?
Don't take them for granted. Think your strengths. No, I said I don't usually always tap into them, but I'm always conscious that they're there. I don't fear for having to do stuff that I'm good at because I know I'm good at it. But I'm always conscious of this.
Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway as well. Being conscious of those things for sure. So, yeah, I like that. I mean, the thing is, it is all that conscious thing about making sure we are aware of it. So for me, actually, you guys sparked a little bit of a thought, because I know many early in my career I was doing a role which I found quite exhausting, and I recognised that it was a lot of data and stuff like that. And when I look at my profile, those profiles, it was a very blue type role, because a lot of stats and stuff, and I found that quite exhausting. But I found the communication piece much better, and so I feel in a better place. So now I've recognised that, and it's taken me a good about 35 years. So I want to give this shortcut to everybody else right now on the TikTok on here. Let's give a shortcut. Dial into your strengths. If you want a job, get a job that dials into those strengths. You're doing them most of the time because you enjoy what you do. If you're doing well and you're dialing to the things you do well, you're more likely to enjoy what you do. And that's what the game is, right? We've got to enjoy what we do, and that makes us much more happier humans. So that's, for me, it's like, analyze what you do. Do you need to change it depending on what your strengths are? Are you using your strengths? If you're not, can you find something that utilizes your strengths and shift that position? So you'll match a much happier life if you're using your strengths. And like, we're quite lucky, because we said we are dialing into our strengths quite a lot daily. So that is my big takeaway. So thank you very much, guys, for that.
Love it.
Yeah, talk through, right?
Great stuff, and great words to leave everyone there. We hope we've inspired people to lean into those strengths. We will, of course, be back next week. Again, subscribe on those podcast players. We'll hit you as soon as it comes out, and follow Joe on TikTok again, Noya_InspirationNation, and we will tell you all about when we are going to be live on TikTok, whatever it's called, and you can join in the fun.
Different version of TikTok. It's Lee's
very tongue-tied. I had a coffee just beforehand. I think it's got me all jittery.
Was there caffeine in it?
Of course there was caffeine in it. I'm not like you with a midday caffeine cut-off, Jose Noya.
My decaf, man. Decaf.
Although I probably should. Right, we're rambling now. Thanks for everyone sticking with us. If you're still here, you must love what we're doing. Tell friends, tell family, leave us those reviews. We appreciate it all. 3, 2, 1, Inspiration Nation. Catch you guys later.
So I want to know now, what's your biggest takeaway? Don't forget to hashtag it with Inspiration Nation in the comments below, and make sure you commit to action. Thank you for checking out. So you can catch all our other Inspiration Nation podcast episodes right over here. So go check them out. And also, don't forget to subscribe, because that will tell you when your next video goes live by you hitting that amazing bell. So until next time, it's Inspiration Nation, and I'll see you right over there.